Hi Scorpio. It is a beautiful day outside. There is nice clear blue skies and gentle cool breeze, but it is starting to get hot for sure. So let's see what the energy is for you, Scorpio. What's going on for Scorpio? Wasn't really picking up anything to begin with. Temperance. That's always a good card to come out, yeah. Temperance. Wow. I'm kind of actually being drawn to the fieriness of this card. Yeah. Wow. Okay. But temperance is about balance. It is about she's got the two elements of fire and water, and they are being poured into each other. But her dress is fiery. Her cup is fiery. The sun or the planet or star or whatever it is in the background is also fiery. So there's a lot of fiery energy coming from this this card. But it is about balance though. So I'm kind of getting the feeling that there's some a very fiery energy that kind of needs to be balanced within you. And maybe it has to do with feeling cooped up and wanting to get out and, wanting to go out and create or, do stuff and not really being able to. And I think it's kind of feeling like that's important for you, that you do need to go out and expend some of that energy, but at the same time you need to do it in a very balanced way. So not in a way that is like I just had this image of an ex-convict getting out of jail and so excited to be out that they just start doing all kinds of crazy things, and one thing leads to another, and then they find themselves back in jail again. So and not to say that that's always the case for people who've been incarcerated. I personally have a lot of negative feelings about the system of incarceration here. But that was the feeling that was kind of in the image that was coming up, and it is next to the Three of Swords. So we have the Temperance card with the Three of Swords card, so that is kind of confirms that feeling of do it in balance, because if you don't, it could lead to some feelings of loss or grief or heartbreak or loneliness. It could end you up right back where you were, kind of confined in the home and or confined in your own space and being bored again. This is not meant to come across as like a COVID-19 warning and fear and all of that. Not at all. That is just an example, okay? So this is actually an energy that can apply to all kinds of different situations. So sometimes, even without this whole pandemic going on, we do find ourselves in spaces where we feel restless and we feel like we need to do something, we need to accomplish something, or we need to just expend some energy that's been kind of like inside, right? And so this message is just really saying that that's probably a good thing for you to but to be very conscious of doing it in the right way, right? So like so another example could be like if you feel a lot of sexual energy, you're not just gonna go out and have all kinds of like random sexual experiences or something like that, because that could put you in a more precarious situation than where you started. I don't know why that example came to mind, but it, maybe somebody needed to hear it. But this is kind of what this energy is. It's just being mindful of what your energy is and your that that fiery feeling that you may be having, and to kind of balance it out in the right way, so that it doesn't lead you to somewhere that is not good. And then another example is, you could be feeling all of this energy of like, you know, wanting to confront someone because perhaps they were not treating you in a respectable or in a I was gonna say human way, and you feel this intense need to address it, right? Because it's something that is very important to you, and you could potentially fly off the handle because it is something that you feel all this fiery energy in you, right? However, if you do sort of just like fly off the handle and start like attacking or something like that, then the person who really needs to hear what you need to say is not going to hear you. They're just only going to become defensive, right? And then that is just going to create more challenge for you, right? But if you can come across in a way that is balanced, right? That you do feel these feelings, but you are you're transmuting them to come out in a more balanced way, so you're able to express how this person's actions are making you feel, while also saying it in a way that the other person can actually hear you and be aware and be able to reflect on their actions rather than immediately becoming defensive. Yeah, and so that is going to lead you to a much better place than if you both are coming at each other in attack mode, right? That's not going to get you any place good. Okay, so that's what the feeling of these are. Yeah, and this is just kind of so I don't always look at the cards right away. Sometimes they fall over and I face down, but this is kind of just emphasizing this, right? Like just kind of approaching things, because I was feeling all of this air energy, right, with this. And then we have the Page of Swords here, so it's like it's kind of it's like trying a new method. It's like maybe your typical method of engagement was not so much in a balanced way, and often it did lead you to putting yourself in more challenging situations rather than allowing something better to come out of it. And so this is really saying here that it's important to try things in a different way sometimes. If what you've been doing really hasn't been working for you, then it's important to approach it in a different way. And here we have the Page of Swords, and that's kind of like a new learning, a new a new idea, something like that that you can employ that doesn't have you feeling like you've messed it up, or like you've cut ties, or like you've self-righteous, where you said what you needed to say regardless of whether anybody else heard you, or anybody else, or it made any difference for anybody else. For example, I have someone in my life who can be very closed-minded at times, and so when that person perceives, experiences something and perceives it as wrong, or whatever, perceives it in a very closed-minded and way, where they're not really seeing the bigger picture, or they're only focusing on their own ideas of it without considering a different perspective. When he sees it in that way, the next step for him is to be absolutely cutting, and meaning the words that come out of his mouth are to cut and hurt and what's the word I'm looking for? Dismantle, and just like really like the intention is like to destroy this person, and to destroy whoever it is he feels like he has to say something to, and will come up with all these cutting responses. And many times I feel like he doesn't even necessarily agree with all of them, but if they fit into this mold of being very cutting and hurting and painful, then that's where he's gonna go, because that's his objective, right? And that's really that's a really sad place to be, because it's obviously coming from ego, and obviously coming from some experiences that he probably had himself, right? Where he may have been acting in a certain way, and somebody, perhaps like a parent or an authority figure, cut him down for acting in a way that was authentic to himself, but was not in alignment with what the other person believed was right. Okay, so I hope that makes sense to you. It's a lot of different people, and yeah, a little bit ambiguous, but yeah. So this is really about like being in balance with any kind of fiery energy that you might be feeling, and being sure that you are not expressing that fiery energy in a way that is just going to bring you more heartbreak, and instead really expressing it from a new perspective, with a new perspective, and with the idea that you don't want to leave the other person or the other situation or yourself detached from the relationship itself, right? Because people can disagree on things and still continue to have a relationship. It's perfectly okay. If you're are Christian and you have a friend who is Muslim, you believe very different things, but that's no reason to deny or discount all of the things that that you can share together, right? And that's like the basics of humanity, and that's the basic idea that is gonna push us forward into a new dimension. To be able to move past ego, and move past ideas of self that are very exclusive, and serve to just bring further distance between energies, between people, between systems, between organizations, whatever. And instead we really want to be way more inclusive with each other, way more understanding of each other. It doesn't mean you have to like or agree or anything like that, but it does mean that you can still regard each other in very human, loving ways. Okay, when I say human, I don't mean like the bad stuff, right? I mean like we're all humans, we're all one, we're all so yeah. Okay, so take that for whatever it means to you, and yeah, let's try to adopt new perspectives, and let's try to be able to see things from others' perspectives. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to adopt those perspectives, or that those perspectives are right, but that we can acknowledge that we understand that there is a different perspective, and that somebody else, based on their own personal experiences, may be seeing something in a very different way from you, and that's okay. And it doesn't mean that you have to be enemies, or have to hate each other, or that you can't get along and be friends and still come from a place of love. Okay. All right, Scorpio, that is the message for you. Hope you enjoyed it. Aloha. Namaste.